DreAllDay.com.
Dre Baldwin with DreAllDay.com. Topic of this video is learning to put your ego aside when necessary. Before I get into explaining this, let me tell you, I send out a daily motivation text every day. If you want to receive it, it's completely free of charge. All you got to do is text me at my number, which is 305-384-6894. It's down below in the description from wherever you're watching this. Again, 305-384-6894. Every day, daily motivation straight to your phone. Now, this topic, learning to put your ego aside, I thought of this topic specifically for the males out there, because us males, we tend to have this issue a lot more than the ladies do, simply because as men, we have the testosterone, which leads to, and testosterone gives us our aggression. It is what pushes us forward to, go after things and be more forceful, not necessarily in a negative way, but sometimes if we don't control it and we're not conscious of it, then sometimes it can move us to do things that we don't necessarily need to do. It might be things that we want to do, we don't really need to do. And I thought of this a couple days ago. What's today? I'm recording this on a Tuesday, but I went to Chipotle to get some food like 2 days ago on Sunday. And I ordered it in the Chipotle app, and the app said, all right, your food will be ready at 4:40 p.m. So now I went over to Chipotle, and it was like, by the time I got there, I usually order it, and then I show up like way late from whatever time it's supposed to be ready. I get there, it's like 5 o'clock when I get to Chipotle. And I walk over to the counter, and the way they got it set up at this particular Chipotle is that they're always late, the food is always slow. There's a whole lot of like Uber Eats. The neighborhood that I live, a lot of people order Uber Eats from Chipotle. So there's a bunch of those delivery drivers just hanging around waiting for their stuff. And then is the regular customers like me who are coming to get their stuff. So they're way behind. I get there, and I walk up to the guy who's like putting the labels on the meals when they get ready. And I'm like, I tell him my name. He's like, yeah. He pointed out, he saw it on the little computer screen. He's like, yeah, it's not ready yet. And I'm like, he's like, yeah, I see it right here. It's coming up. And I'm like, yo, it's supposed to be ready at 4:40. It's 5 o'clock. He's like, yeah, but he started telling me about something that happened with the grill and something that happened in the kitchen and this and that. And he's like, yeah, so you're going to have to wait. And the way that he said it was a little bit rude. It wasn't like extremely rude. He wasn't like trying to be purposely disrespectful. A lot of times these days, when people talk in a way that I would consider rude, or maybe you would consider rude, a lot of times they're not even trying to be rude. So there's a difference between someone trying to be rude on purpose, where they're just trying to be nasty because they just feel like, I don't know, whatever reason they're doing it, versus somebody who is just talking the way that they normally talk to people, and they don't understand, maybe they don't understand that some people don't appreciate that, and some people might take that as rude. So I didn't think he was trying to be rude on purpose, but I just didn't like what he said and the way that he said it. But I didn't say anything. I just walked off, and I waited. I went outside. I stood outside. I was messing around on my phone for a few minutes. Went back in like 7-8 minutes later. So the food was like 30 minutes late from when the app said it was supposed to be delivered. They did make the meal correctly. That's one thing I can give them credit for. And the dude gave me the meal, and he was calm and nice about it at that point. And I was thinking about it when I was walking back home, because I know 10 years ago, not so much maybe 5 years ago, let's say maybe 5 years ago, but anytime further than that, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, that same situation had occurred, and that guy had said the same thing to me in the same way, I would have made that more of an issue. I would have made an issue out of it. I didn't make an issue out of it this time. I just said, all right. I walked outside, left it alone, and kept it moving. I didn't need to make it an issue. I wouldn't need to make an issue 10 years ago, but I would have made an issue simply because I was just less mature and wasn't thinking the way then that I am now. And the reason why I wanted to make a video about this, especially for all the males out there, especially those of you who are younger than me, like I'm 39, so I'm gonna be 40 in a couple months, is that we gotta learn when to use that aggression, that energy. You gotta learn when to use it and when not to use it. And I'm gonna make it real simple for you. In the art of war, Sun Tzu says, when you are not in danger, do not fight. It's as simple as that. If you're not in danger, don't fight. If you feel like someone said something that they didn't need to say, you feel like somebody needs to be checked a little bit, you can check them, you can say something to them, but don't escalate the situation. You understand? There's a difference between saying something to somebody and saying like, yo, you ain't gotta use that tone, or you don't have to put the words together the way that you did, and escalating the situation where he's like, well, you have to wait for your food. You be like, well, fuck you, motherfucker, the fuck I gotta wait. Now you're escalating the situation. You don't need to escalate it, because when you escalate the situation, you're kind of getting yourself ready, and maybe the person you're talking to, or somebody who might be watching it, into that fight or flight mode. But again, if you're not in danger, then you don't need to fight and you don't need to flee. You don't need to run away and you don't need to fight anybody because nothing's going to happen to you. So I'm looking at this guy. Some of y'all have seen this on camera, situation, the way that it happened. You might have thought to yourself, Dre, why didn't you say something to him? You could have checked, you could have said to him, like, yo, you ain't got to be rude. Y'all already late with the food. I have a right to be saying what I'm saying. I don't understand, like, why you even having any kind of tone with me when y'all are the ones who are late? I'm the fucking customer, right? The customer is always right. The customer's not always right, by the way, but I had a right to be right in that moment because they were already 20 minutes late with my food. And the thing is, when I was thinking about it when I was leaving. This guy is bagging up the meals. He's bagging up meals at Chipotle. What do I need to prove to this gentleman? I don't need to prove anything to him. I'm not saying that in any way like I don't respect somebody who works at Chipotle, because listen, that kid who was working there, I didn't work more jobs like that than he has. I worked at Pizza Hut, I worked at McDonald's, I worked at Friendly's, I didn't work at restaurants, I didn't serve tables, I didn't bus tables, I didn't wash dishes, I did all that shit. So I'm not talking down on somebody who's in that position, but I'm not in that position right now in my life. So I'm looking at him. He was, again, a little bit rude, like lightweight rude to me when I was asking about the meal. But what do I need to prove to him? Because all I had to do was wait 10 minutes. If me saying something was gonna make the food come out any faster. I get my food, I leave, and let's say if you had seen this on camera, you would say, well, he kind of disrespected you a little bit, and you let him get away with it. Well, the thing is, and this is something, especially with us men, is that you don't have to get even with everybody just because you feel like they did something or said something. Hopefully y'all can hear me. It's a lot very breezy out here. Just they did something or said something that you disagree with. You don't have to prove something to them by saying something back to them in the moment. You usually aren't going to gain anything from doing that. You might feel good. It might serve your ego a little bit for that short period of time, but it's like eating a candy bar. It feels good for that moment, but 20 minutes later, you're hungry all over again. Didn't really do anything for you. So what I'm urging you to do is have the maturity to know that when you're already in a position that you're already, let's say, one up on another person, you don't have to win every little battle, try to prove something against them. You got to be able to let things go. It's kind of like playing basketball. Sometimes when you got the ball, you shoot it, and sometimes when you have the ball, you pass it. In some possessions, your team comes down the court on offense, and you might not touch the ball. And that's not a bad thing. So maybe your teammate was open, and they shot the ball, and they scored. Maybe somebody else had the ball, and they shot it, and this is what they decided to do. Maybe they even missed. Maybe it was a turnover, you would get a chance to do your thing. Sometimes you got to set the screen and you're not the one involved in the action of shooting the ball, and that's okay. Sometimes in life you got to let the ball go to somebody else and just keep it moving. And there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't make you less of a man. It doesn't make you less tough. It doesn't make you any kind of pussy. It doesn't make you a bitch if you don't go tit for tat with every single person, especially when you're already in the winning position relative to that person. Even if they don't know it, you know it, then you don't have to prove anything to them. That's the maturity that you got to be able to have. So, with all that said, if you haven't gotten your free copy of my newest book called The Third Day, The Decision That Separates the Pros from the Amateurs, I'll give you a free copy of this book. All I need you to do is cover the shipping. Go to thirddaybook.com. That link is also down below in the description, thirddaybook.com. And make sure you text me. Let me know you watched this video. Tell me you got something useful out of it. My number is 305-384-6894. Work on your game. Dre, all